We have a vaccine. The incredible breaking news in an early morning's recording of Mornings LALATE, as Pfizer announced it has a vaccine with 90% effectiveness rate. This is higher than any rate that was expected. The vaccine will be distributed in massive crate loads. They'll start in Michigan and go out to distribution centers right as soon as deployed. Stock market is up over 1,500 points in the futures trading anticipation of the markets to open. This is insanely great news. It impacts your stimulus. It impacts your second stimulus check. It impacts your third stimulus. It changes the whole dynamic of stimulus and this nation's recovery. I'm so very excited for you. And this is a great day of Mornings LALATE. Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Mornings LALATE. In a day that we anticipated was coming, it was an announcement from Pfizer about its third stage results for the vaccine. And now it changes the landscape of stimulus relief, the U.S. economy, your health, your safety, and the youth and future of this country. It's absolutely incredible, great news, and I'm so glad you joined me on a Monday morning. I'm here, you're here, and the toast is toasted, but the butter is buttering a little bit more right now because America is celebrating. This is one of the greatest days in American medicine that we have ever seen. If you're not subscribed to this channel, please do, because you're going to see throughout the day that I'm changing up the lineup programming. Yesterday was a blockbuster in viewership. I paired both live and taped recordings in times in which we had to go live because something was breaking. So it's important that you subscribe so you don't miss me when I go live at any particular point. Also, like this video because it helps the video appear higher in the ranking. In today's video, I'm going to go over what happened with Pfizer minutes ago. I'm going to go over the impact of this on the U.S. economy, how this vaccine will get out, how it's impacting stay-at-home industries, and how it impacts you, where it's going to impact jobs, how it's going to impact stimulus, how it's going to impact the scope of stimulus. I mean, even yesterday I said, hey, we wouldn't have anything until February or February for vaccine. I was wrong, so there you go. Check one off of the list on that one. Then I'll be going over the announcement by President-elect Joe Biden and for stimulus and for COVID. It's a great day. And then finally I'll be getting to the Wall Street, up 1,500 points in pre-market trading. Oh my goodness, that's just, yeah, I think I need an extra candle for the set. All right, let's get to the breaking news. The breaking news is that America was just shocked when Pfizer made an announcement today that people would have expected something of about 50% efficiency rate, success rate on a vaccine. And then the announcement was 90% effectiveness. I'll tell you why that's so high and why that's so important in a second. But Dr. Albert Bourla, chairman and CEO of Pfizer, made the announcement. It was a great day for science and humanity, he said. A vaccine rate of 90% effectiveness after 7 days of a second dose. I think you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I believe that this is the most significant medical advance in the last 100 years, if you count the impact it will have on public health and global economy, said Bourla. U.S. stocks are absolutely on a tear. Stock market futures up 1,500. Airline and cruise and travel 20-30% up. This suggests where this is coming from and what happened with Pfizer. So Pfizer had 43,000 participants. It had them in both here and in overseas in Germany, and it came back with a 90% efficiency after taking after 7 days after taking a second dose. So what does this mean? It means that after 28 days of getting the vaccine, which consists of a 2-dose schedule, you have a 90% efficiency of being vaccinated against the vaccine. I'll tell you in a second why that number is so high. The first results from our Pfizer phase 3 COVID vaccine trial provides the initial evidence of the vaccine's ability to prevent COVID. While we're reaching this critical milestone, the world needs its most effective rates setting new record, hospitals nearing overcapacity, and economies struggling to reopen. This is Borla. With today's news, we are significantly closer to providing people around the world with a much needed breakthrough to get to the end of this global crisis. How this would work is the following. Pfizer and BioNTech, which are partners on this, as I understand it, expect to produce 50 million vaccine doses this year and 1.3 billion doses next year. It requires 2 doses per person, and earlier this year, it did a deal with the United States to deliver 100 million doses to this country's citizens. And residents. How this would work is the following. They would load, as according to CNBC, 3 suitcase size boxes from distribution sites in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and Perth, Belgium, onto 24 trucks per day that would have a daily transports of about 7.6 million doses to nearby airports. This is incredible, great news. So now I'm going to explain to you why this vaccine rate is so just shocking. It's shocking. Most were expecting a effective efficiency rate of maybe 50%, 60%. So 90% is just jaw-dropping. This is where measles is at. Measles is a 93% efficiency rate. The flu has only a 40 to 60% efficiency rate sometimes. So, I mean, this is it's an incredible achievement. Now, let's turn to stimulus and how this impacts your stimulus. Basically, this impacts your stimulus on the back end very clearly right before you do any analysis. You can understand that when I was talking yesterday, I said, hey, we need unemployment, we need stimulus, we need hazard pay, we need all these things on the future end. I call it the back end, you can call it the future end. I said, hey, we're not going to have a vaccine until... Hence, we're going to need these benefits to continue for. And so that's what's important to understand is I was talking about a February, March. Remember yesterday I said, we have to extend these benefits until February, March. And the best case scenario will be at least April because we have to get through the season to get these vaccines out to the American people. Now, you'll understand in everything that I just read there, which is the totality of the announcement for Pfizer, we don't know exactly when a lot of people could get this vaccine in their bodies. And so hopefully it's the way it's being phrased, it's faster than what I reported yesterday. Again, what I reported yesterday is that we would need these benefits to extend to at least February, March, and hopefully to April if the vaccine rolled out by February. Now, if the vaccine's actually sooner, then that would effectively solve bringing the dates in a little bit tighter. Now, what's important to understand is when we talk about bringing dates in tighter for benefits, that would mean that people could get back to work sooner. That would mean that unemployment weeks would not need to be certified. It doesn't mean that the stimulus package would be smaller. It just means that you wouldn't need to use those weeks in April for benefits because we could get things on track potentially earlier than initially thought. Now, how does this impact everything up to this date? It does not. So whatever your past due from the month of March does not change. Whatever your past due from March to now does not change. Everything that needs to be getting in the Americans' hands right now does not change. 125,000 COVID-19 cases per day. Dr. Scott Gopley thinks it may be 500,000 per day. It's a very high infection rate currently. And so that's why you need stimulus right away. What also mirrors the situation is that the discussion of the Pfizer vaccine basically gives us a timeline to we understand, okay, we are not out of the woods until we get this vaccine. And until we get this vaccine, we really need a stimulus because we're going to have high infection rates, we're going to have lockdowns, we're going to have curfews, we're going to have everything that impacts your ability to make money or receive money if you're on SSDI, SSI, and that's what's so important. Today, you know what's going on. Some of the stuff has already started. It's only 7 o'clock here on the West Coast. I'm taping early because of the breaking announcement. But you already know that Mitch McConnell is putting stimulus to the Senate right today, as the Senate will reconvene and start session to discuss first item of business, stimulus. Joe Biden over the weekend announced that his first item of business is stimulus. On his transition website, which I encourage you to follow and add his Twitter handle for the transition team. He actually has a Twitter handle. The president-elect says that stimulus is the first focus. He calls it economic recovery. I detailed a lot of it over the weekend. He certainly talks about stuff for small business. He talks about stuff for unemployment. He talks about stuff for working for families. What's important to understand is for you to push, to, as the followers of this channel, the Purple Power, your success is across the board. You succeeded with Seats for Stimulus. You succeeded with all these other things. And what's important to understand is that you are owed multiple stimulus checks or a bigger stimulus check. And you know what I'm about to say, yes, that unused money from CARES Act 1 that's at PPP needs to be repurposed for the sake of stimulus. Send it out for stimulus, because ultimately it reduces the stimulus package. It makes it easier to get a bipartisan agreement done. Over the weekend on Friday, I announced that that Mitch McConnell is the lead negotiator now for the Republican Party as the number one person in Washington, returning in January. Also, on Saturday, I announced that Joe Biden is now the number one negotiator on behalf of the Democrats, as the number one Democrat now in the country. And I also reported that these parties are going to start to talk and get it done right away. This is incredible, great news. And by Sunday, that reporting was confirmed by the New York Times. So now we know that it's Joe and Mitch. It's Joe and Mitch and Joe and Mitch and Joe and Mitch. And yesterday I gave you a detail about how these people have done deals before and how these deals will impact the current deal. That the parties that they're involving, the staffers that they're using, are staffers they have used before, and that they have worked for decades together. That they have found common ground to find commonality for bipartisan results, and they will do it right now. The day started with Joe Biden making announcements that impact your stimulus. He rolled out a task force that will deal with the pandemic. They include Surgeon General, who are they? Luciana Borio, Ezekiel Emanuel, chair of the Biotech Clinic and National Institute of Health, Celia Gorger, clinical professor at NYU, Julia Morita, health commissioner for City of Chicago, Michelle Ursulon, out of Minnesota, Lois Pace, who is the global crisis, and Robert Rodriguez, and Eric Grosby. You know what I like about Dr. Rodriguez is he has researched the impact of the pandemic on frontline workers, which is absolutely incredible. President-elect says, dealing with the pandemic is one of the most important battles of our administration will face, and will be informed by science and experts. The advisor board will help shape my approach to managing the surge of reported infections, ensuring vaccines are safe and distributions. This is incredibly important. He is already working on the ground to ensure that this gets done. What's important to understand is that transitions are critical here. Joe Biden is working from day one, which started on Saturday when he made his announcement, to get to the point of bipartisan results. And Wall Street is ecstatic. Wall Street is up 1,700 points this morning in the Dow futures. That, of course, is the futures. This is all because of Pfizer and this 90% effective rate. You know, it's two things. It's one, Pfizer, and it's the 90% efficiency rate. This was just nothing that anyone had saw coming. This would imply that the Dow may open at 1,700 points, or 6%. The previous intraday record was about 1,245 points, which is just absolutely incredible. Amazing news from Pfizer with a 90% efficiency rate. This hopefully is the beginning of the end of our fight against COVID, says a chief investment officer at Bleakley Advisor Group. As I've been saying, to the hopes of this, we need to shift our attention to those part of the markets that have been the most hammered because of COVID, and away from work and those home stocks of incredible year, because COVID is not here forever. So what's happening is that there's a lot of focus away from at-home investments and at-home relief, and back on to stimulus and getting back to work. It's materially bullish for stocks in the near term regarding the data. The 90% efficiency rate in preventing COVID is higher than anyone had hoped for. Given the election clarity, a run in the S&P to 3,900 is not unreasonable. And what did Jim Cramer say? I think the rally is justifiable. I think we're going to start a new discussion, a discussion about what America's going to look like. This is incredible relief because as we look at economic relief, as we look at stimulus relief, as we look at how much stimulus, how quickly, then you finally have a progress that's going. As a president-elect says, when we deal with stimulus, we have to deal with, I was not going to use the word crush. We have to deal with fighting the virus, and then ultimately now we have the fight of the virus with a timeline. So now we can focus on stimulus. There is less distractions on more issues every single day. And this is what's so important for stimulus. Stimulus checks, FPUC, hazard pay, all these things that you're entitled to, all retroactively, all bringing it up to the present. You're owed a big stimulus check. You're owed FPUC. You're owed UI, which expires in December. You're owed FPUC, which expire in December. You need these things to go out right away. And ultimately, this changes the whole dynamic of it. In every video, there's always someone says, how much is the check and how much is the hazard pay and what dates is the retroactive? I do that in so many videos on a given day that I have to fully disclose. I can't repeat it every single video because there's so much other breaking news that impacts your stimulus or that finds when and how the stimulus terms are out there. So if you want in this video to specifically know the calculations of the range of FPUC, then please watch the other videos in this day because I cover everything like that in a given day. Also, if you want to go over the issue of Biden versus Trump, watch other videos in the day. I address those concerns and questions as well. What's important to understand is that this rally shows that Wall Street is ready for stimulus. Jim Cramer, I think the rally is justifiable. We're going to look at a new short-term discussion and discussion of where we're going. If you think we were last week, well, where we felt that there was very little chance to be able to stop the thing, now suddenly we have hope. You see how things change so quickly. The three major averages have just noticed their best weekly performance since April. The S&P is up 7.3 and 9, and the Dow is up 6.9. The S&P reported its biggest election week gain since 1932. Of course, the biggest winner is tech. So suddenly we have a lot of great things coming to us. We have Mitch McConnell on the Senate floor doing stimulus. We have Joe Biden as a new negotiator for stimulus. And I got to tell you, every time I talk about Joe Biden, President-elect, doing stimulus negotiations and not her, I'm just relieved. I singularly think that is a major breakthrough for us. The fact that it's Mitch and Joe and not Steve and her is just categorically going to change the landscape. You would have had this stimulus months ago if it wasn't for... Yeah. And so there's no more talking on The View. There's no more going on Colbert and talking about the other person's hair. I'll do that here. There's just no more sending nasty letters or trash talking or sending out nasty texts or tweets. It's done. We're getting on path. It's a great new morning. We're getting stimulus out. Wall Street is excited. Wall Street believes stimulus is coming. The Federal Reserve says it's coming. Mitch says it's coming. The president-elect says it's coming. Basically, even the red poppers think it's coming. It's a great new morning, and you see why I taped earlier for today. Join me next on Holidays LALATE, which is at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, in which I'll have more breaking news about what's unfolding today. I can tell you, it's going to be a big breaking day with a lot of developments. I'll have to choose between live or taped recording. As always, go to the front of the channel, subscribe because no one's keeping you more update as to stimulus and everything that impacts your stimulus, down to, when the truck gets on the plane in Kalamazoo, Michigan to send out the virus vaccine to curb the issue of how many months you would have stimulus. I'm getting incredible detail. Also, like this video. Coming up next, of course, is Holidays LALATE. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and safe. LALATE for more.